Hello, my name is Eric, and welcome to Phi Mathematics, our continued conversations on executive functions. We're in Chapter 2, Tools of the Trade, and this is Part 4. So, Part 4, we're going to discuss soft tools of the trade, the non-tangible items. Now, these are very important, particularly in our day and age, and as I mentioned in the last video, a lot of students, and it seems to be the older students are getting it more, but junior high as well too, and I wouldn't be surprised if elementary school is having these as well too, where a lot of the work is now being done through the internet. This implies, as we said earlier, a connection. So as we said in the last video when we discussed a mobile office, part of that mobile office is the virtual desktop. So I'm just going to lay out what I would suggest students have, and then in the next video I'm going to discuss some of the concerns around this parents may have. So don't think I didn't worry about parental concerns. So to set up a mobile office these days is relatively easy. A virtual office is relatively easy. There are many platforms out there. I happen to use Google, so I'll use Google as an example of what I mean. So when you have a Google account, an email account, this gives you access not only to having an email that people can send you information, but it also gives you access to Google Drive. And Google Drive is basically a virtual or an online computer. It has storage, it has a word processing program, an Excel type program, and even a slides presentation program. All three of those my students use constantly throughout the year. And the nice thing is too, it allows you to store this data in the server on Google under the email name under the account that's with the email name. And then all this can be transferred and shared between students, between teachers, between school and work, and thus forth. It's really a great thing. And to have the online office set up is wonderful, because then when the student goes to school or goes between home or homes, then they just log right on and boom, everything's ready to go. So part of the tools of the trade, it's kind of a little bit of an organizational section too, but since it's a tool and we're in this category, I'm putting in this chapter. So if you have an email, a Google account, the first thing I would say is give yourself an email that is just relatively formal. It doesn't have to be flashy. You know, a lot of young kids, or sometimes we make fun names, but imagine creating this email when you're going to use this even after high school, maybe in college. And don't worry about I want to have different emails. You can always pump in other emails into this kind of hub email, and that's exactly what I do. I have different projects, different things I run, and I use different emails as a result of that, but I can pump them all into my hub, which is my main Google one, and I can access everything from there, as well as send under the different emails as well too. So don't worry about that if that's concerning you in the future. So I'd recommend just using your first name, your last name, or something simple like that. Try not to have numbers if you can avoid them, just to keep it, formal. That way people know who you are, and it just looks kind of classy that way too. For the student now, once you set up your email and you have your Google Drive or whatever equivalent you're using, I would go there and set up your folders for every class, or at least every class that is going to have some kind of digital content. A lot of teachers are sharing content digitally now, from presentations to worksheets to videos, and sometimes you need to store this stuff, or even the papers that you're working on, you write. You want to keep things organized. Just like we're keeping the physical items organized in our desk of our tools of the trade, we also want to keep our digital stuff organized as well too. So if you haven't done this yet, I would go and, like kind of apply the environment chapter onto the digital if you happen to already have a Google Drive account or something equivalent, and delete all the stuff you don't need anymore, make new folders, label them properly, and then that way you have organized places for all information to come, and it can go there nicely. You're ahead of the game. Another thing that's very beneficial for this virtual office is to take advantage of the bookmarks. Personally, I didn't really use these very often up until just a few years ago, but they're very, very handy. And for students, I can even recommend they're incredibly handy because they make things efficient. So most browsers, from Chrome to Bing to, Firefox and Apple, will have some kind of bookmark storage area where you can flag websites so you can access them quickly. So I would go in there and sometimes you can have them in the bookmarks bar, which is just right there on your browser, or you can even make folders and store different things in there. I would go in there and make a few for the student. So access to your emails quickly, access to Google Drive quickly, access to maybe make a folder for student resources like Khan Academy, Desmos for graphing, mathematical type stuff, and whatever type other things. There's also writing things, and have these links accessible quickly on your browser. Now, it should stay on the browser per computer. And if you log into a browser on another computer but log into your account, it should hold that as well also. So that way, if you happen to be on a different terminal or you're at school or wherever you happen to be, the student can easily access the needed files or the needed websites quickly. Of course, this would also pertain to the student portal, their grades, and things like of that nature as well too. The nice thing about having this stuff set up and efficient is it allows the student to go between the house and school and homes if necessary quickly. Once again, we're eliminating the impedance to getting the work done. The behavioral stuff is going to take time. We've already mentioned that, and we're going to talk about those in later chapters, how to make things easier and how to make routines and systems that not only catch things coming in the future, but also make them simplified. And the first thing we have to do is to make sure that we've set up the environment and set up our tools of the trade so the student can access these things and get to work and make the process of getting work done as simple as possible. Thank you very much for watching us once again, and remember, enjoy the process. See you next time.